All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Tonight is one of my favorite code jams. It's the software engineering code jam. So thank you so much for joining. I very much appreciate it. And so do all of our students. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tiffany Hall. I'm an alumni of TripleTen Software Engineering Program, and I'm currently a full stack employee and product owner and magical unicorn at at Scholastic Inc., the world's largest publisher of children's books, and powerhouse really in the digital education space as well. Tonight, I get to add another title to my a long list of accolades, and I get to be the Code Jam host. So this one's my favorite one to do, obviously, because I have a closeness to software engineering. So thank you again for joining all of us tonight. If you're new to what a code jam is, let's hit those points first. So a code jam is a friendly competition at Triple Ten that we put our students in groups. It occurs during their normal coursework, and so these are super short competitions where the groups of students get together, they jam out a bunch of code, and then they see who is best at meeting the prompt that we give them. There are prizes, but mostly the students are competing for all things that developers want. More caffeine. Kidding. It's also pride. Pride because you want to lord over your code, right? You are the master of it. And if not, then we'll contact you to use your project for our QA code jam in a few weeks. So let's talk about the two parts of the code jam. Last week, our participants were divided into teams of students, and then we gave them the challenge to create and develop a website application that can help people in times of disasters, whether they be natural disasters or human created disasters. There seems to be a lot of that going on right now, so we thought this would be a really timely prompt. Some sort of digital service or a tool that their local town, city, village, community can benefit from during times of disaster. Our teams only had 5 days to make their project, so very short in terms of development time. Today, they're going to show their projects off to all of you out there, and then the judges are going to take all next week to evaluate them. They're going to be looking at both the code and their presentation, so stakes are very high. The results will be posted on February 10th, and all of our students who are watching can vote for their favorite project. In the following week, we're going to have a Discord poll in our student channels. You can vote there. If you're not a student of ours just yet, you can vote by commenting on our video after it's recorded, or you can hit us up on any of our socials and just tell us the team that you wanted to vote for. There will be a special award to the audience favorite. I'm going to reach out to my cat Sharkbait and see if he will give you his very nicest hairball. And if that doesn't work, I'm sure TripleTen will fill in with something else much nicer than a hairball from my cat. All right, let's continue. So our first teams tonight are going to be the Java and the Scripts. Java and the Scripts consists of Regina Washington, T. Trong, David Roman, and Jonathan Booth. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You able to hear me?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Fantastic. So, good evening, everybody. Just like she said, my name is Jonathan Booth, and my team is Java and the Scripts. And on the topic of tragedies and how we can help Java and the Scripts, came up with an organization called Be Cool About Wildfires. It's a community relief tool with the mission of connecting wildfire victims to local volunteers and donors in an effort to really strengthen the community, build collaboration, and create unity among providing the solution. So, just from filling out the forms, whether you're a volunteer or you really need help, you become your first resource. So to first talk about it with like the HTML and how we began, I'll pass it over to Regina.
Sure. Hello, my name is Regina. For the Be Cool About Wildfires project, I worked on the HTML structure. Just one second. I was requesting, just one second, structure, which forms the foundation of the web page. I use semantic HTML elements to organize the layout, including sections for navigation, information, and interactive content. This structure makes it easier for the CSS team to style and for the JavaScript team to add functionality. I also ensured the accessibility by using proper headings and text for images. So overall, the HTML layout keeps the website well structured and readable and user-friendly. And it's the end of my HTML.
Cool. And then next up to kind of go the next layer down as far as what you're able to see with that HTML structure, I'll pass it over to T.
Hi, my name is T, and I worked on the header nav bar. I came up with the logo um, on the left using Canva, and then I also I did the nav bar. I added some anchor tags that when you click on these anchor tags, it will take you to a certain section of the page. Just for better navigation. And I added some hover effects onto these anchor tags. Also, the MP4 fires in the background, I'll let John talk about it a little bit later because that was his work. I think it's very awesome and cool. It catches the user's attention for sure. And I also worked on the footer for I added some animation, like a flicker animation for a copyright. It's very little, you can't, it's very subtle, but it's flickering. And I also added some fun fire emojis animation at the bottom. And I also added our LinkedIn, GitHub. When you clicked on the icons, there's some effects there. And when you click on those, it will take you to our LinkedIn um, and GitHub pages. I also worked on the responsive design of this page. So it is compatible whether you're on your phone, your tablet, or your laptop. Oh, perfect. And then I will pass it on to David about the forms.
Yeah. Let me see. So yeah, I worked on the a little bit on the forms and the CSS. I really wanted to take on the JavaScript just to get more practice because I am just coming out of the Sprint 6, 7 JavaScript projects. So it's better to help me understand it and practice it. Did the validation.js for our project. So what you see at the top right there is our object that contains all of our class names and our selectors under settings. Below that, we have our show input error function, which will show if there's if there's an invalid input, it'll show a message saying that it has to be in this form in this certain format. And there's also the hide error a hide input error function, which will get rid of that error message if the form is accurate. Below that, we had the check input validity, which uses the browser API to check to see if the input is valid. And if so, it'll call the show input error function. And if not, or if it is, if there's an error, it'll show the input error function. And if it's clean, it'll hide the input error function. Um, and if there's even one input that is invalid, it'll always return as the whole form can't be submitted. So the button that we have there that toggles it, it'll remain disabled. And if it's true, if everything is okay, the button activates and you could submit the form. And then initially the button is disabled, so it'll take the styles from the CSS where we put it as a disabled function or a disabled button class, and it'll always show up as disabled when you first initially get into the web page. But like I said, once the user starts putting in the input, we have an event listener that'll listen out to see if what they put in is accurate. If they're putting in text or numbers where they're supposed to be, um, it'll then check the input validity on those, and it'll toggle the button uh, either as enabled or disabled, depending on if the input is accurate. And finally, we just call the enable validation. So it'll apply all our validation logic that we had on that validation.js uh, uh, page, and it'll call it all at the end, so it's active on all the forms. And yeah, I mean, with that, I guess I'll pass it over to John, and he can yeah, he's already shown you guys how it functions and how the validation works.
Most indubitably. So, with all of these technical elements and showing on the site how user friendly it is, we found with the cause that we chose that it's that much more important to make it as flexible to get the help you need, right? And one cool thing that I think it was T that introduced was when you go through these forms, I tried doing much of the like CSS structure. So we build a card to format and make it look visually appealing to match what Regina started with the HTML. And we all brought our little pieces. Now, when you go down here to fill out a volunteer form, as you can see, it'll tell you you have to fill out this form before this button pops up, much like David was saying. But if I go up here for assistance, do the same thing, zip code 345678910, and even for the email, it'll tell you um, that it needs an email format. This one subtle difference that I think is really cool is if you're requesting assistance, your button is red because you're in the fire and you need to cool down, right? But if you're offering to be that cool, you have your blue button for volunteering. So every small part, which maybe took us an hour because we coded overnight and we kept asking for questions, and some people provided other people solutions, it all comes together for something that can really help thousands of people. So, like, what would be on the horizon for us for a next step, right? Actually having a database would be one where we can register the number of people that say that they can volunteer. And when you hit the button, it'll tell you you'll be contacted shortly. Or if you fill out the other form, it'll say, thank you for your submission. Because when you need that kind of help, you need people to care as they help. So we make it smooth and clean. And maybe adding like zip code specific API that shows like in your area 10 miles away, or just a link of resources for people that want to donate. That's our project. And this is with what we know so far. Imagine what else we could build from it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That was a great way to start the presentation for tonight. I really like the duality of the cause, but most importantly, I really like that you guys mocked what it will look like when you send the form in. Sometimes people can forget that, right? We're mocking things, we're making things, but you guys have that like visual confirmation that is really great. So that way people aren't just like clicking randomly. All right, let's talk a little bit to the team now. Let's talk about as a team. One of the things you guys said there at the very end was like trying to find answers, trying to find solutions, to button problems and all of that. But as a team, what would you guys say was your most challenging technical decision that you made during the project? And how did you guys work through that as a team?
I may be only able to speak for myself in some aspects because in the what's funny is in the process of finding solutions to like just getting started, um, we had to first learn like that we didn't, each individual didn't hold the entire answer to a problem. And that's tough when you're going through sprints and this is your project, your portfolio, but now it's you and four other people. So the
Right.
toughest part was just saying, here's what I can handle. I'm not the 100%. I've got the
Hmm.
10% here, y'all, and you really have to trust where you can go. I didn't know anything about JavaScript, but I knew CSS. And
Yeah.
Regina started off strong with the HTML, so we got a starting point. So whoever needed to refine, whoever needed to get the forms to actually show and the card structure, the collaboration helped work itself out. None of us knew GitHub until we all agreed that we were in trouble, and then we just YouTubed it.
Yeah,
So like the process of under
Spoken like a real
like
developer right there.
exactly. Yep.
exactly like it's just like when I play Uno with my family. I don't have to know the game to win. I have to know the players. So the more I understood where T felt she was professional,
Yeah.
where David worked, I just plugged in and look what we did.
Yeah.
So,
You
Anyone
know,
else on the team?
I
There
would
you
have
go.
to say that we learn a lot of I mean, I was in the July co-jam, and this time around we were able to learn about a lot more about GitHub, pushing and pulling, a lot of that, a lot of merging. That
Branching.
I yes,
yes.
that was we
Exactly. Yep.
probably created so many branches, but we made it work.
Mm,
And another thing I want to point out as well is that I think it was the third day in, we put David in the middle when he was supposed to create a background color, and he told us that he's colorblind.
I forgot.
Oh.
I made it work. I made it work.
Yeah. He's
we
like, is that red? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's red.
That's totally
we
red.
we did not know that until 3 days, and I was like, "Oh my God, what did we do to this guy?" But you know, that was pretty
It's
amazing.
like Googling how to pick red. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay,
I had a
so
lot of fun
that was
with
some
this team this time.
challenges. David, was that your most challenging technical decision during the
Honest,
sprint?
I guess honestly, no. It was definitely the GitHub portion. We
Oh
wanted to make
yeah.
sure we weren't just like overwriting and everybody was on like pull the main when they were supposed to.
Mm,
Otherwise, like you'd be working from an older file that we already had, like a brand new main that's 3 or 4 commits ahead already. So yeah, learning GitHub was kind of a challenge, but yeah, we got through it.
great.
Yeah, I think that was a big hurdle for us, all of us
Yeah,
really.
that and I think the flame video in the background too. That took me a second, the difference between MP4 and MP3, because I wanted it in the background, but then also it kept washing out the logo by itself. So
Mm,
we had to make the opacity behind that subtext just enough where it didn't take much, set the opacity to like 40%, as you'd see in the code. But that
yeah.
let it actually highlight the text instead of overbearing it. So
Mm,
took about
no,
two
it's
hours.
Yes, and I
a
would say
lot
some
of the
of the
detail.
challenges was the GitHub as well. Just getting started, just the first time working with a group and trying to merge
Yeah.
everything together was a challenge for me.
Yeah.
Uh, but in terms of the HTML, sometimes you also have challenges with that as well. When positioning the elements correctly,
Oh, yes.
without, yeah, without
Like
realizing.
move over already. My favorite is when you try to go back and forth between like the dev tools and you're like, if I do it here and it works, then it
Mhm.
should
Of
work here. What is happening?
course, yes.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I love the color scheme. I can't wait to look at the code. I really appreciate all of the thoughtfulness and really great point of view too, and having the people requesting volunteers, right? And people volunteering their time. I think that's a really cool viewpoint. So, all right. Thank you guys very much. That is Java and the Scripts with Regina Washington, T. Trong, David Roman, and Jonathan Booth. All right. Thank you guys so much. Let's go to our next team, which is Team Readiness. Power Wetstein, Anissa Baravelle, Harshit Singh, Julian McNeil. Team Readiness, you guys take it away when you're ready.
Oh,
These are
hello,
the jokes, guys. You
everybody.
got to laugh.
Hello, everybody. My name is Anissa, and we are Team Readiness. That is spelled with a Y, which was initially a typo, but we liked it so much that it stuck. So we decided to go with a disaster preparedness checklist. It uses a combination of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Initially, I was in charge of the header markup, to which I also added a navigation bar. And I picked this kind of notebook image that had a gray background, so that kind of informed the major color scheme. And to complement that, we kind of wanted to give calm vibes because this is an emergency and we need to kind of slow down the nervous system. So we went with this nice green on the back. I was also responsible for the overall major CSS styling throughout the whole page, including hover effects. All the clickable elements, whether it be images or text, have some kind of hover effect, buttons too. So yeah, with that, I will pass it on to Harshi, who will speak about the main content.
Hi, I'm Harshi. My initial task for making this project was creating the body of the web page, basically adding the text and the title, so snowstorm, hurricane, and then the text you see beneath that. I also did some very basic styling just for the images that you see here, making them into circles and whatnot. After that, Anissa took over and just made everything look 20 times better. For now, I'll pass it to Howard, who implemented the modal functionality.
Hi, my name is Howard. My initial task was to work on the modals, specifically starting with the buttons and opening into a checklist, and then making it so the images and the images were the buttons. The initial checklist is my design, as well as the responsibility to click out of it and escape. Key to exit out as well. Julian did have a great idea and added in the ability to hit the add button with the enter key instead. It's much more natural for most users. I will pass it back to Harshi.
Hello again. After we made the modal, I was tasked with the functionality for making the add and the remove button for the checklist. So as you see here, if you were to remove any of these buttons, they would be removed from the checklist. And if you were to click the add button after typing in a new item, it would also be added to the checklist. Another thing I added, as well as you can see, as we open the checklist, the text that we inputted previously got saved to this specific checklist and any check mark boxes that we may have done before. Alongside that, if we were to move to the hurricane checklist, for example, it has its own unique items inside the checklist, along with any unique additions we may have made to this checklist as well. And for now, I'll pass it to Julian, who worked on the footer and the glossary.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julian, and I was responsible for designing the footer section and the glossary of terms page. As you can see, we have a nice gradient fading in the main content in with the darker footer that Anissa was responsible for. I think it gives it a nice touch. Our leftmost column is a Meet the Team section where each link will take you to a member of the team's GitHub profile so you can get to know us a little more. And our middle section is a sort of credits page where you can see where we got the images and the icons that we used for our page and our modal buttons. And finally, the rightmost column contains a list of relevant external links. So you could click on, say, FEMA, and it will take you to FEMA's official site where users can get even more assistance or information. So our top link in the useful links section is a glossary of terms page. This will take you to a separate page where users can see the definitions of certain terms that we use throughout the website. On the left side, we have a quick links menu where you can click on the link and it'll bring you to a specific definition. We have a back to the top link that'll bring you right back to the top. And we have a back to home link that will send you right back to the home page. So now I will hand it back over to Anissa so she can cover the mobile layout.
We wanted to make sure that, of course, this page is viewable with mobile and tablet in an easy way. So we have some responsive design. As you can see, with a smaller screen, the navigation bar and the footer are all in a column. All the text sizes are smaller, margins and padding have been adjusted, images are smaller, and so is the modal. So everything is kind of seamless. Same for the glossary. As you can see, everything is slightly smaller and better. It makes for a better viewing experience. Overall, we're very proud of this project. I think we worked surprisingly well together, considering that we met, less than a week ago. We helped each other out whenever there were problems or things with, work and stuff like that. The most that we all agree that we've learned the most with GitHub and the Git merge and pull and push. The way we structured it was we had the main branch, and then each of us had a branch named after ourselves, from which we made our own things, and then we pushed to the main. And that was scary and nerve-wracking every time we had to, push to the main and hoping that we didn't break everything. We did break a few things here and there, but we always fixed it, and we helped each other out and persevered. And this is the product that you see before you as a result. So thank you for listening.
All right, right on. Really cool site. I like the checklist a lot. I know that is a thing that is kind of this ubiquitous like coding project thing, right? Like everyone always likes to make a checklist. And so I'm glad to see that you guys used the skills that you knew you had to really kind of reimagine how you use them for this purpose. So very cool. And the multi-page aspect of it is overachieving. So well done. All right, let's talk about some of the questions kind of around the code jam. So I know it's the first time working in a team, but like, how did you guys manage the communication? We're across lots of time zones here in the US. How did that work out for you?
Well, we got lucky because we're all within 1 hour of each other time zone wise. So I think
All
that helped a
right.
lot. And most of us, I think, are sort of on the night owl spectrum of things. So yeah, we're constantly updating each other through, our Discord chat. It was a constant, oh, I did this, or I did that. I pushed it to my branch, check it out before I merge it, There was a lot of back and forth like that. And yeah, I don't know if anybody else wants to add.
To add on to that, we were able to finish I would say, let's say 80%, maybe a day or two before. But the last 20%, which was bug fixes, any quality assurance for any small issues, that's probably when we were the most communicative with each other. Every single hour, we'd be sending a message to someone, hey, I think this is working, or hey, can we add this feature implemented? Like, for example, tabbing out of the modal or clicking escape to click out of the modal and clicking enter were things we added in those last 2 days because we just wanted to add any extra features that we could because we were able to.
Oh, I'm so glad you guys did. That's certainly in terms of functionality, that's one of the kind of expected user experiences that a lot of people come around with. And, when you're in a time crunch, it can be the first thing that goes, right? You're like, I just got to make the big stuff work. So I'm glad to see you guys had time. How did you guys, speaking of your time, how did you guys structure the time that you spent building it? Did you guys make up kind of a flow, like first we're going to do the header, then we're going to do the footer, then we're going to do the modal, or did you guys just assign those to different people?
At the start, it was definitely all assigned to different people. Anissa took over the header to start, Hershey took over the body, Julian took over the footer, and I started the modal. We all did that over the course of the first day and then fleshed it out from there.
Marvelous.
And once
Really
we had
great breakdown.
once we had all of that done, we started asking each other for help where we could help, see who needs assistance with certain aspects. Like I know Anissa really helped out with styling to make sure we all had a consistent style. And Harshy and Howard were in charge of the modals. So they worked on that together with the event listeners and all that. So towards the end, we all sort of coalesced, and that's how we got the finished product.
Yeah, I think Howard, Hershey, and Junior are definitely the JavaScript heroes of this project. I kind of, I'm still a little shaky with that, so I kind of left it up to them. I trusted them, and I'm like, okay, I'll just focus on the styling and make it look pretty, and they'll focus on making it actually work.
Yeah, I mean, there's a role for everybody, right? But I think you bring up a really great point. It can be nerve-wracking when you're a student in the boot camp. All of your projects are your own, right? And they're all just brand new. You guys start with like clean code pages and then have to build everything. And here is one of those where you have to release the control of an entire element to somebody else who you've never met. And that is what the job really is like. So I'm glad that you guys get to experience that.
Definitely, thank you.
All right, that is Team Readiness with a Y, with Howard Weinstein, or sorry, Howard Wetstein, Anissa Baravelle, Arshi Singh, and Julian McNeil. And then we have Syntax Symphony, Love Alliteration. All right, that team is coming up next. We've got Janique Thang, Jose Canella, Kira Matsuo, and Levi Bailey. Syntax Symphony, feel free to take it away.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Levi, and we are Syntax Symphony. We decided to go with a project we named our project Emergency Connect, which it's a service to help those in need receive aid, and also to give the public an opportunity to volunteer as well. And I'm going to share my screen now. And I'm going to pass it over to Jamek so he can tell you all about his responsibilities.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamek. So in this project, I was working on the home page, and there's a nav bar at the top that has a nice background and a smooth transition when hovering. And there is upon clicking on each of the section name, it will direct to a correspondence page. And there is a image of a outstretched hand, which represents standing with people during difficult times. Last but not least, there is a hover pop-up located underneath the image with helpful information on how to stay safe. And I also contributed to responsiveness feature in different parts of the sections. And these are my responsible during the co-jam. I was enjoy doing it. And now I will hand over to Jose.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jose. I was responsible for the donation section in the forms. We have one of our forms displayed here on the donation page, and we use some JavaScript for the validation. And it's going to show you the error message as well for when things are not filled out correctly. And upon entering all the fields, you'll get the option to submit. And upon submission, we added that you get a thank you to pop up just to let you know, to confirm to the user that their submission went through. We also went and added a QR code for optional way to donate, and that will go to the Emergency Connect Fund too, and then that will be distributed to the help you want that you're donating to. Also, the additional form on the charities page to volunteer as well. And upon the filling out all the fields, you will submit and will also get a thank you message for volunteering. As you can see here. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it to Kira so she can speak on her section.
Hi, I'm Kira Matsuo. I created the charities page. So in that section, I wanted to have 4 cards that displayed well-known charities that volunteers could join in their area. So when you click on each card, a modal will pop up and there's going to be more information about each of the charities. And to do that, I used the template tag in our HTML just so it's cleaner and simpler. And then I paired that with the array in JavaScript to iterate the same functionality and render multiple cards. Jose and I used global functions to open and close our modals, whether that's by clicking the X or using the escape key, or you can just click outside of the box and it'll close the modal. And in terms of the CSS and stylings, I just used Flexbox to keep each card aligned and centered. And that would blend really well with the responsiveness that J-Mick had mentioned earlier and that Levi handled too. I also helped with the stylings for the page overall and the CSS. So that included the color choices, the page layouts and ideas, the font stylings. So I went with Merriweather for the titles and Poppins for the paragraph tags throughout the website, just so there's a cleaner, modern look and a more unifying design with all of our pages. And so now Levi is going to talk about his page and close our presentation.
Hi, Levi again. So I was working on the about section, just a little bit of information about the organization and where it had come from. I also was responsible for the preparedness section, and I went with a card-like HTML structure. I used a list, style, and p tags, all written in my own words. I also worked on the footer with a nice gratitude paragraph and our contact information for the organization and a nice image to show teamwork and community. There is also tags to our links to our GitHub accounts at the bottom and small copyright. And I believe, oh yeah, and we used GitHub in Discord to communicate with each other, and I really think that we used GitHub to make sure that we were on the same page, and it was really very helpful. And that is our project. Thank you.
Right on. Okay, first and foremost, whose Cash App am I paying when I scan that QR code? Because I feel like it's like reverse bribery for the judges, right? Like, as a judge, are we paying you to give the? It's just a question.
It's the organization. I actually had to make it.
Did you really?
Yeah, but I just used emergency as the first name and connect as the last.
Okay. Okay, so it's going to somebody's pocket, that's for sure.
Yeah, don't send any money to that. It's not, I mean, it's not open. I deleted it right afterwards. So
oh, okay,
I just
great.
needed the image and it was just easier to do it that way.
All right. I was starting to think this was a side hustle. Okay, so let's talk. What is anyone on the Syntax Symphony, like, what was your favorite part about the sprint? No, not the sprint. The sprint is the thing you do in normal coursework. What is your favorite part about the code jam?
Go ahead.
My favorite part. Go ahead, Jose.
I guess yeah, my favorite part was the opportunity to like work together, because to be honest, it's my first code jam, and I think everyone was just, very nervous. It's like, oh man, how are we gonna get this going? I think what I took most of it was the experience to get that, to be able to work as a team and actually see how, what kind of hurdles you'll come together as everyone trying to put in and make something work together. I think that was the most I took out of it, and actually enjoyed it. Even though it was nerve-wracking at first, it was the part I enjoyed the most.
I say, what sprint are you in?
I'm in sprint 8.
You're in sprint 8. See, you're doing great. You've got time to join another one. We get another one next month. Then you can join it and you'll feel so much more calm, and then you'll be able to help all the other little code jam newbies.
Yeah, I could.
All right. Yeah.
add on to what Jose was saying, I was going to say my favorite part was also just having the opportunity to work with classmates. And I think having like an online format for TripleTen, it feels kind of isolating sometimes. And so it's really nice to be able to connect with people that are experiencing and going through the same sprints. And it was really nice for us because we were on like a different spectrum of time. For like Levi's in sprint 6, Jose and I are in sprint 8, and then J-Mick is in 13. And so we're able to like really hear from each other's experiences,
Yeah.
what we've learned so far, and tips that we have for future sprints, and how the projects are in the future, and then be able to really have like real conversations about the work that we've been putting in. And so it was really nice to connect with them and be honest with each other too. And I think the first time that we connected on Discord, we were like, okay, we're going to be very honest. I'm feeling a little imposter syndrome about like how confident I am about JavaScript. And so hearing that they're also feeling the same way as me also like gave me some confidence to put together a project like this with them.
Oh, that's really great. I'm glad you guys were able to form that kind of safety in your group. And you're right, working remotely, it can be really isolating, right? In the learning process, but also in the actual job process. And I think the code jams for me are one of the best parts about the code bootcamp process, because it's teaching all of you and all of students like me that it can be isolating, but if you take the opportunities to reach out and like create that sense of community with your teammates or with your coworkers, right? Join a fantasy football league, or you know, there's a happy hour digitally or a trivia game. People really do try to create these kind of opportunities to get to know people, because we all really want to have friends at work. And that's the best part. And building that community is really the best part, for me anyway. So I'm glad you guys got a chance to do that. Let's talk less gushy and more technical. More technical. Let's talk about hard things. What was like quick hits, the hardest part that you had to code and the easiest part? And if you don't say the Flexbox thing was the hardest, I'm going to call you a lying liar that lies, because that Flexbox stuff can get crazy.
I actually I really thought that was kind of easy for me to learn, the Flexbox
Of course
thing.
you did.
It's the JavaScript I'm really having not really a hard time, but it's just taking a little bit longer. And I noticed that I retain more information like the next day, and I have to make I get up and take a lot of breaks. But yeah, I didn't really have much to do with the JavaScript on this project for that reason, because I'm in sprint 6 too. So I did want to take the opportunity to polish up all the other things that I've learned in the previous sprints. And
sure.
So yeah.
All right. What about the rest of you?
So I'm go for it. For me, I was very happy working collaborate as a team.
Yeah.
We have a different strengths and weaknesses, and in this part, my difficulties is designing things. So I don't have a designing things. I want to build the homepage, but I have changed every time. I want to make one and then I want to change again. But when
Make 6 homepages in the time of one.
And so when I asked to my team, and they suggest to me this one is good, and that way I can have a one homepage fix. So from there I can have more features and anything I want. So this is what the result for me.
No, that's a really great one. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say my toughest stuff was JavaScript too. I was having a hard time. Jose had written all of his JavaScript, and then while I was doing the CSS, and then he was like, yeah, just use my codes. And I was like, okay, now I have to match my HTML to his
Ooh.
JavaScript. And so it got a little confusing in my brain for a little bit.
Yeah, because I bet he's got a different style than you.
Right, exactly. So I think reading his code and then having to match it to my code and then build off of it was a challenge. I definitely leaned on my teammates for help with that, and that was pretty challenging.
What a great skill to be able to practice. My first job was working in a legacy code base. And so it had been written over like a 10-year period by like, 4 billion developers. And so it was challenging to try to get in there and be like, why did they do this? They don't know where this variable is. Why would they do that? So I'm great. I'm really glad to hear that you guys were able to get that practice in. All right, that is Syntax Symphony with Jay McBang, Jose Canella, Kira Matsuo, and Levi Bailey. And so we have one more team. They weren't able to be here in person, so I've got their videos, and that is the Code Heroes. And the Code Heroes consist of Gerard Ike, Juan Alcantara, Jacob Burke, and Sam Branham. So we'll take a moment to relive remote teaching during the pandemic while I figure out how to share the things with all of the right permissions. Okay, here we go. Oh, good, it's sharing. Okay, so I will go ahead and play their videos. There are 4 of them, and then I will pop back on to close up for the evening.
What's up, everyone? My name is Gerard. This is our application. We decided to go for a shelter finder, which gives you a list of shelters based on the location you put in. So if I put somewhere like New York, it gives you a loading screen and it gives you a list of shelters that when you click on, it can take you to their website. If I also put a place that it didn't recognize, it gives you a nothing found screen. So my contribution in all this was to create the API and to connect the API to the front end so it can display the cards. Go into the code. I needed a way to convert the words to longitude and latitude. So I decided to use the Google geocoding API that would take in the place and an API key, and then would convert it to longitude and latitude. Using that API, I decided to use the Google Maps Places API that when you put in your key and the longitude and latitude, it will give you a list of shelters which we specified here. I also implemented the preloader and the nothing found page, which when we submit here and handle the search here, based on the value we get back, it would either display nothing or it would display the places. So that was my contribution, and thank you.
Everybody, my name is Jacob Burke, representing the Code Heroes styling department. So this is our landing page here. My job was to design the markup and then style everything. So basically I have, header, hero section, footer, and then we have our search. I arranged this all by a couple of flex boxes. Here you can see And then this is also a Flexbox. For the styling, I used a white and like grayish blue. I thought was a nice touch with this font color here. I used this image from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, free to use. So I got it from unsplash.com. And then I overlaid it with a gradient to kind of tie it in with the rest of the page, the rest of the style. Yeah, I think that looks nice. I chose this color to be high contrast. What I was also responsible for was taking these icons from various locations on the internet, and I transported it into A-Sprite, something I use on the regular. I also did that with these GitHub links here. You can see when you hover over these, they become black, and I added a shadow to make it clear that that's what you're hovering over. And same with the footer down here. And these are all the teammates. It was a fun project. I learned a lot about Flexbox, and I'm excited for the next Code Jam. Thank you.
The Wild World of Our Website's Articles page, a totally serious, not really, breakdown of our site. Hey, tech enthusiasts and content lovers, buckle up for a roller coaster ride through our article section, where boring meets brilliant. Excuse my throat, I'm a little sick right now. Behold our magical methodology. We've created an article system so simple, it'll make your grandma's recipe look complicated. Picture this. Each article is its own little text file, living its best life. Why? Because one, massive scary bases lurking around. There are none. Two, adding articles is easier than ordering pizza online. We've created basically a Swiss Army knife of content management, which is flexible, lightweight, and ready for anything. I want to walk you through the code here real quick to show you our articles have multiple files. Why multiple files, you ask? Well, imagine if all your clothes were in one giant tangled laundry pile. Nightmare, right? Our article system is like a perfectly organized closet. Each article gets its own hanger, which is its own file, easy to swap out, mix and match. No more content chaos. Future API integration, boom, no problem. We're so ready, it's almost embarrassing. Our current system is reading through an array of file names, but our system is like a chameleon, adaptable, sleek, and ready to transform at a moment's notice. So want to switch to a fancy API? Done. We built our system to be more flexible than a yoga instructor. Our structure is so clean, Marie Kondo would weep at joy. So there you have it, folks. Our article section isn't just a feature, it's a love letter to flexible, future-proof web design. Whether you're a tech geek, a content creator, or just someone who appreciates smart engineering, we've got something special doing for you. Stay awesome, stay curious, keep reading. Bye now.
All right, one moment while I load the last one. It's a different format, so here we go.
Hello, I'm Sam. I set up the React framework for the project and worked on the search and map sections. I also split the site into multiple pages using React Router. We chose to use React because it offered a lot of useful functionality and a good way to keep all the code organized. It really helped us split things into components so we could reuse similar elements like the footer cards, the search bar on multiple pages, and the search results. This also made handling the search input easy too. We're able to use lifted states in the main component to easily communicate values across all the different components and the different pages. We decided that it would make the site a lot cleaner to split it up into multiple pages, and we could easily leverage React's browser router to keep the project as a single page application, but separate things out visually. Here in the main component, you can see that we have our routes with the default landing page and alternates for the search and the articles. We also had to change out the anchor tags in our header to nav links to allow the user to navigate the site. I also worked on the map page, and the map uses a React library that provides a component for the standard Google Maps API. I added onto this by drawing markers for every result in the list and an info window that will show up on the marker. Also, on initial load, the map centers on the user's position. However, we're looking for a better and more dynamic approach to this. Here you can see the pins, and clicking on them, the info window pops up. The rest of the page took a bit of styling work to get very responsive, but I'm very proud of how it turned out. You can see things shrinking and expanding. And we also have a media query to remove the map for mobile view because this was very hard to navigate. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if you guys could hear me audibly gasp when he like shrunk the screen and that like map and everything like repositioned, but that was definitely a moment where I was like, oh, it's gonna go bad. And it didn't. So really great job to that team. Also, Juan has me in stitches. He, his code is more flexible than a yoga instructor. Really great. Great job, guys. Okay, so that is the Code Heroes. Thank you guys so much for getting your videos in. I'm sorry you guys couldn't be here, but really, really, really great work. I can't wait to get into the code. Thank you for showing us the code also. That's always a fun little nerdy bit for me. All right, so Code Heroes is Gerard Ike, Juan Alcantara, Jacob Burke, and Sam Branham. All right, and that's all for us tonight. We have finished all of our teams. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. That is our January Software Engineering Code Jam. So thank you all so much for watching at home. Thank you guys to all of the students that are here tonight that joined. It takes a lot of courage to meet new people, put yourself out on the limb, and then actually work on code that you're hoping is going to be working in like 4 and 5 days, and you just put it out there to millions of people to look at. So that takes a lot of courage. And honestly, I'm really impressed. These code jams get better and better each time. And I think the judging is going to be like super difficult. So great job making it super difficult. I want to thank all of our behind the scenes people as well. So it's not just me, kind of figuring out how to make all this work. There's a big team at TripleTen that makes all these code jams work out smoothly. So thank you to Devin, Elena, Alyssa, Olivia, Daniela, Nadia, and Dennis. And of course, Sharkbait. You can't forget Sharkbait. The winners will be announced on February 10th in our Discord and in our socials, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget, if you're a student, vote in the Discord poll so that way you can vote for your audience favorite. And if you're watching this on the YouTube, you can vote in the comments. My name is Tiffany Hall. You can find me at Tiffany Codes on Instagram, and you can probably find my cat with his head buried in the pizza box. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great evening.